You ever been at an airport during peak travel season? Yeah, that kind of chaos. Not the cute, oops, I forgot my latte kind of chaos. I'm talking about Terminal 4 at Phoenix Sky Harbor on a blazing hot Thursday afternoon, where the sunlight basically melts through the windows and every single human in Arizona apparently decided to fly out at the exact same minute. It was packed. Like, packed. Bodies everywhere. Luggage wheels screeching. Kids crying because, I don't know, their pretzel broke in half. TSA shouting instructions no one listens to. The coffee line curling so far you can't even tell where it ends. All of it swirling into this messy, loud, sweaty tornado of humanity. And the loudspeaker? Oh God, the loudspeaker was relentless. Attention passengers, Terminal 4 is experiencing heavy delays. Gate B9 is now boarding. Do not leave your baggage unattended. It bounced around the ceilings like someone trapped a robot in a metal can and forced it to yell every 30 seconds. So yeah, that was the vibe. And then, everything changed. I swear to you, it happened in the space of one breath. 1 second the air was vibrating with noise, and the next, it fractured. It started with Ranger, K9 Ranger, Officer Marcus Hale's partner. Now, before I go on, you gotta understand something. Ranger isn't the kind of dog that just reacts for fun. He's not a golden retriever chasing a balloon across TSA. He's a professional, stoic, serious, the kind of dog that barely even wags his tail unless someone truly earns it. Which is why what happened next didn't just surprise people. It ripped the floor out from under them. Marcus was walking Ranger through the terminal like usual, vest on, badge shining, radiating the whole "don't mess with me" energy. Ranger was healing perfectly. No tension on the leash. No strange behavior. And then, snap. Ranger's head jerked up, ears forward, body stiff. Like electricity shot through his spine. Ranger, what is it, boy? Marcus asked. But Ranger didn't hear him, didn't even flinch. And then, it was like watching a missile launch. In one explosive burst, Ranger tore forward, ripping the leash so hard Marcus's arm yanked sideways. People screamed. A Starbucks drink exploded on the floor. A businessman leaped onto a bench like the tile was lava. Ranger, heel, heel! Marcus shouted, sprinting after him. But Ranger was gone. Full speed, claws hammering on tile, vest straps whipping behind him, muscles sculpted by pure panic. And in airports, a K9 sprinting full speed basically means the world is ending. TSA reacted the only way TSA knows how. They pulled the trigger on code red. Sirens burst into the air like fire alarms having panic attacks. Metal gates slammed down. Clang, clang, clang. Lights flashed red like a police car swallowed the terminal. Phoenix, sunny, normal Phoenix, shifted into apocalypse mode. A mom dragged her toddler so fast the kid's crock flew off. A teenager literally threw his backpack and ran. Suitcases toppled like toy blocks. One guy slipped on spilled coffee and screamed, "Why? Why today? And the craziest part? Nobody knew why they were running. Just that a police dog had lost his mind. And when a police dog loses his mind, people assume the worst. Someone yelled, "It's a bomb! He's sniffing a bomb!" Another shouted, "No! Chemical attack! Move!" Fear spread like wildfire. Terminal 4 transformed from annoying travel, day to, "Is this how we die?" in under 10 seconds. And Ranger, he didn't look back. Not at the screaming crowd, not at the slamming gates, not even at Marcus, whose voice cracked between fear and something deeper, something like knowing this wasn't nothing. Ranger was locked onto something, laser-focused, driven by a sense no human could understand. And here's the part that still gives me chills. You know that awful silence right before something terrible happens? That heavy, suffocating silence? Yeah. That fell over Phoenix Sky Harbor like a shadow. Because somewhere ahead of Ranger, somewhere in that ocean of terrified travelers, was the reason he ran. Something bad. Something big. Something no one was ready for. And in that moment, right as the last metal gate slammed shut, it truly felt like Phoenix had stepped into the end of the world. And the crazy thing is, while Ranger was tearing through Terminal 4 like a living missile, nobody, and I mean nobody, had any clue who he was running toward, or what. But then, right when Marcus finally caught sight of him again, we all saw who Ranger was sprinting at. A kid. A tiny kid. 7-year-old Emily Ward. And look, I don't know how to explain this without sounding dramatic, but the moment people realized Ranger wasn't chasing a grown man or some shady-looking guy in a hoodie, but this tiny girl with freckles and a backpack almost bigger than she was, the entire terminal just cracked. A wall of screams went up. "Oh my God, he's going for the little girl! She's got something! She's got something! Get away! Move, move, move!" And poor Emily. She didn't even understand what was happening. 1 minute she was clutching her pinkish, almost silver-ish backpack, waiting for her mom who'd gone to ask a gate agent a question. And the next minute, the whole airport was acting like she was holding the end of the world. And then Ranger hit her. Not violently, no. It wasn't an attack. It was more like a body check of urgency. Like he was trying to get to the backpack. Not her. But to everyone else? It looked like a K-9 bringing down a suspect. Emily flew backward, sneakers sliding across the polished floor. She hit the ground with this soft, awful thud, the kind of sound that makes your stomach cave in. People jumped away from her like she was radioactive. Emily scrambled, hugging her backpack to her chest, like it was the last piece of home she had left. Ranger stood over her, tense, trembling, letting out this low, primal rumble that made even grown men back up. And Emily, God. Emily started shaking so hard, her teeth were chattering. Not little shivers. Full body, loss of control, trembling. Marcus skidded to a stop 5 feet away, hand raised. "Ranger, hold, just hold, buddy, easy, easy." But Ranger didn't budge. didn't blink, didn't breathe wrong. He was locked onto that backpack like every instinct in him was screaming. And Emily? Emily lifted her face, eyes red, cheeks streaked, and whispered the sentence that ripped the entire terminal in half. Please, please don't take my bag. I didn't do anything bad. Her voice cracked on the word bad, like she'd been swallowing fear all morning, and finally couldn't hold it anymore. She wasn't yelling. She wasn't throwing a tantrum. She wasn't even crying loud. She said it the way a scared kid apologizes when they don't even know what they did wrong. Quiet, broken, confused. And damn it, that hurt more than any siren, any shout, any chaos around us. Someone choked out, "Oh God, she thinks she's in trouble." Someone else whispered, "Why is the dog doing that? Why is he acting like she's dangerous?" But fear is a stupid thing, a contagious thing. It turns grown adults into panicked animals, and the crowd pulled farther back, forming this perfect, awful circle around her, like Emily was some kind of explosive. A mother hid behind a pillar with her son. A man in a suit held his briefcase like a shield against a 7-year-old. A teenager muttered, "Dude, what if she's carrying something? Something bad?" And Emily heard all of it. Every word. You could see the words hit her, like bricks stacking on her tiny chest. Ranger barked, once, sharp, slicing the air. Emily jolted like she'd been electrified. She curled into herself, arms squeezing the backpack so tight her knuckles turned white. "Time 900. I promise," she sobbed softly. I didn't do anything. I don't want to be bad." Marcus's face twisted, half fear, half heartbreak. Hey, sweetheart," he said, crouching, palms out, voice trembling. "Nobody thinks you're bad, okay? Nobody." But Ranger growled again, louder, and Marcus froze because he trusted that dog more than oxygen. "Sir," a TSA agent shouted, "step back. The dog is indicating high alert behavior. That bag might—" Marcus snapped. "She's a child, not a threat." But even he looked shaken. Phones came out. Recordings started. Whispers turned into rumors. Rumors into terror. And Emily? Emily folded smaller and smaller, like she was trying to disappear into the floor. Like if she made herself tiny enough, maybe everyone would stop looking at her like she was a monster. Ranger's growl softened into a sad, aching whine, the kind dogs make when they're watching something they desperately want to fix but can't. And then Emily whispered, barely audible, Am I gonna get taken away?" Marcus inhaled sharply. No, sweetheart. Absolutely not." But she shook her head hard, hair whipping around her cheeks. "Everyone's scared of me." And the truth was, for one awful moment, she was right. Terminal 4 wasn't looking at Emily Ward, a little girl who lost her mom's hand for 10 seconds. They were looking at a question mark, a threat, a what if. And nothing hurts more than seeing a child convinced the world thinks she's dangerous. And Ranger wasn't calming down. He wasn't protecting the crowd from her. He was protecting her from something the rest of us hadn't even realized yet. Because right after Emily whispered that heartbreaking question, "Everyone's scared of me," someone pushed their way through the crowd, and not in the frantic, panicked way everyone else had been moving. No. This woman moved like the chaos didn't touch her, like she was walking through fog, slow, controlled, almost rehearsed. Her heels clicked softly on the tile. Click, 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 until she stopped at the edge of the circle formed around the trembling little girl. She stood tall, late 30s maybe, dressed in a neatly pressed gray coat, like she'd walked straight out of a magazine shoot. Her dark brown hair was tied in a flawless low twist, the kind of hairstyle that says, "I planned every second of today." And then she smiled, but not the kind of smile you expect from a mother who just found her missing child. No relief, no panic, no messy emotion. It was wrong, perfect, frozen, like someone had carved it onto her face with a razor blade. "Oh, sweetheart," she breathed, voice soft and sugar-coated. "There you are." Her eyes flicked to Emily's backpack. Just for a split second. Barely noticeable. But Ranger noticed. Ranger notices everything. He exploded. A roar, deep, violent, thunderous, tore out of him, the kind of sound that hits your ribs before your brain catches up. Marcus jerked the leash. "Ranger, hey, back, hold!" But Ranger wasn't listening, didn't even try. He lunged, teeth bared, claws scraping the floor so hard they screeched. The woman didn't flinch, not even an inch. Instead, she lowered herself, slow, deliberate, onto her knees in front of Emily. "Mommy's here," she whispered. "Mommy." Marcus froze, like he'd been slapped. What? What did she just say? Emily's eyes widened, not with recognition, but with fear. Real, physical, full-body fear. "Sweetheart," the woman, Clara Wynne, cooed. "Come here, let Mommy help you." She reached forward, hand open, and Ranger nearly broke the sound barrier trying to block her. Marcus had to wrap both arms around Ranger's harness just to keep him grounded. Even then, Ranger's muscles flexed like steel cables about to snap. Clara's smile didn't change, not even a millimeter. But her eyes, oh, her eyes were ice, sharp, calculating, empty. "Ma'am," Marcus warned, "I need you to step back, right now." Clara pretended she didn't hear him. She tilted her head, soft, delicate, like she was acting in a sad movie. "Sweetie, give Mommy your hand." Emily yanked her hand away so fast it slapped against her backpack. I don't want." Her breath hitched, and Clara's fingers, very quickly, very subtly, closed around Emily's wrist. Not gently, not motherly, tight. Emily winced. Her skin reddened instantly. Clara's knuckles whitened with force. And Ranger lost it. If Marcus hadn't been bracing his entire body weight into that leash, Clara would have been launched into a wall. "Hey, let her go!" Marcus shouted. Clara turned her head, still smiling. "It's okay, officer," she murmured. "This is all just a misunderstanding." That voice, that soft, calm, practiced voice, sent a chill through the entire terminal. Because mothers don't talk like that when their children are crying on the floor. Mothers run. Mothers scream. Mothers collapse around their kids and don't let go. This woman, she looked like she was playing a role, a poorly acted one. "Lady," someone muttered, "that's not her kid. No way that's her kid." Marcus moved closer, voice tight as a snare drum. "Ma'am, I'm going to ask you one more time. Step away from the girl." Clara stared at him, still smiling, still holding Emily's wrist. And then she leaned down, lips close to Emily's ear, whispering something too soft to hear. Emily's eyes filled instantly, huge, terrified tears. She shook her head violently. "No, no, 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 please. I don't want to." That was it. Marcus lunged. "Let her go!" Clara jerked back, lifting both palms like she was the victim. "Oh, goodness," she breathed. "Is all this really necessary?" Ranger growled so low it rattled the bench beside him. And that's when the crowd turned. People who'd thought Emily was the threat were now staring at Clara like, "Wait, something's wrong." The silence wasn't fear anymore. It was suspicion. Charged. Hot. Ready to ignite. Marcus straightened, eyes locked on her. "Ma'am, you're going to tell me exactly who you are." She blinked once, twice. Smile carved perfectly across her face. And then she said, in a whisper that made the entire airport tilt, "I already told you, I'm her mother." Nobody believed her, not for a single second. So let me ask you this, and I want your honest gut reaction. If you were standing there, watching that chilling smile and that terrified child, which reaction would you choose? Tell Marcus to arrest the woman immediately. Grab Emily and pull her behind you? Trust Ranger over any adult in that room? Or something else entirely? What's your choice? If Clara's creepy smile was the match, then what came next? Yeah, that was the explosion. Because right after Marcus stepped between Clara and Emily, something in Ranger snapped into a whole different gear. Like instinct dialed itself up to 11. And that was the moment Marcus realized. He wasn't going to be able to talk his way through this. He had to see what Ranger was reacting to. "Emily," Marcus said softly, keeping one eye on Clara. "I need to check your bag, okay? Just your bag, not you." Emily shook her head instantly, arms clutching that backpack like she thought someone was about to rip her soul out of it. "No, no, 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 please, don't." Her voice cracked. And that sound. God, That sound made Marcus freeze for half a second. But Ranger barked, sharp, urgent, snapping Marcus back into motion. Marcus swallowed hard. He crouched beside Emily, palms open, voice low and warm. "Sweetheart, listen to me. I promise I'm not mad at you. I promise nobody thinks you did anything wrong. I just need to make sure you're safe." She stared up at him with eyes way too old for 7 years. Then she let out a tiny, shaking breath and slowly loosened her grip. Marcus didn't yank the bag, didn't rip it away. He just eased it gently out of her hands and placed it on the tile. Ranger immediately shoved himself between Emily and the backpack, body coiled like a loaded spring. Clara watched from behind Marcus, still wearing that wrong, frozen smile. Too calm, too practiced, too quiet. Marcus ignored her. He pulled out a thin inspection knife, the TSA kind, used to check false bottoms and hidden compartments. The blade opened with a soft, pitch, 10% click. Emily flinched. "Hey," Marcus murmured. "It's okay. I'm not cutting anything that belongs to you. Just the fabric, okay?" She nodded. Barely. Then Marcus slid the blade under the seam at the backpack's base. The sound tore through the terminal like a scream stuffed into nylon. Ranger let out a high-pitched whine. Not fear, not pain, warning. Marcus peeled the first layer back. Everyone expected crayons, stickers, gummies, something normal, something that made sense, but instead, the base revealed a plate of metallic strips, thin, sleek, polished like surgical tools, arranged in this horrifyingly neat pattern like silver scales. "What the hell?" Marcus whispered. Ranger pressed closer, ears pinned so tight they almost vanished. Marcus lifted the first metallic strip. Under it, a grid of microcomponents. Laser-cut circuit boards etched with markings too precise to be anything but specialized hardware. Another officer leaned in, face draining white. Is that a ghost access array?" Marcus didn't answer. He peeled back the second layer. Under it, microchips labeled with FAA-coded alphanumerics. FAA, as in Federal Aviation Administration, as in, if this gets hacked, planes fall out of the sky. Someone whispered, "Jesus Christ." Another muttered, "This is military-level hardware. Why the hell is it in a kid's bag?" Marcus felt his pulse spike so fast his vision flickered at the edges. This wasn't smuggling. This wasn't drugs. This wasn't random tech. These were devices capable of hijacking radar feeds, blinding control towers, cutting communication between sky and ground. If someone activated this thing mid-flight, the entire southwest region could go dark. And then Marcus saw it. The detail that made his throat close. A sticker. Pink. Childish. A cartoon kitten. The kind of sticker a kid might put on something 'cause a stranger said, "Here, sweetie, doesn't this look cute?" That was the worst part, because it made one thing painfully, brutally clear. Emily Ward had been used, used as a courier, used as cover, used as a shield. Marcus closed his eyes. Just 1 second. Just enough to breathe and keep the rage contained. When he opened them, his voice was low, dark, trembling with fury. Whoever did this put a little girl in the middle of a national security breach. Ranger growled, deep, murderous. Emily whispered, voice shaking apart. Am I gonna get arrested? Marcus turned so fast, Clara actually stepped back. No, he said, solid as concrete. No, sweetheart. You didn't do anything wrong. Not one thing. Someone did this to you. Ranger pressed his head against Emily's shoulder like he understood every word. Marcus looked back down at the gutted backpack. The ghost access tech, the FAA chips, the radar masking device. Pieces of a disaster hidden inside something covered in glitter hearts and little kid zipper charms. And tell me, how the hell is anyone supposed to process that? How do you wrap your mind around the fact a child, a literal child, was turned into the perfect Trojan horse? If you were standing there, seeing that backpack split open like that, tell me honestly, would you feel fear first? Would you feel anger? Or would it be something else entirely? Something I'm not even naming here? What hits you hardest? If the inside of that backpack made the whole terminal go dead silent, then what Emily said next? Yeah. That was the moment everyone just stopped existing for a second. Like the air got sucked out of Phoenix Sky Harbor, and all that was left was this tiny, shaking voice. Marcus had barely zipped the ruined backpack closed when Emily tugged on Ranger's fur, very gently, like she was scared even to breathe wrong. Hey, Marcus said softly, kneeling again. You don't have to talk if you're scared, okay? You're safe right now. You're safe. Emily swallowed so hard her whole throat moved, and then, between these tiny hiccuped sobs, she whispered, A lady on the plane gave me candy. Everyone froze. Not dramatic, not movie-like. No gasp. Just stillness. The kind where people stop blinking, stop breathing, stop being human. Marcus leaned in, voice almost breaking. A lady? What lady, sweetheart? Emily wiped her nose with the back of her hand, tears dripping off her chin. She had shiny hair and shiny nails, and the candy was shiny too. Her voice came in fragments, like the words were too heavy for her to carry. She said it was a secret game, Emily added. And, she said I had to keep it safe. Like a treasure. Every adult within 10 feet felt something inside them snap, because it hit all at once. This wasn't an accident. This wasn't random. This was planned. And the person who planned it used a child. Marcus's voice was barely steady. Emily, where did she put the candy? Emily pointed, a trembling, tiny finger, at the gutted backpack lying open like a dissected animal. In there, she whispered. She put it in the bottom pocket. She said She said my mom would be really proud of me. People choked on their own breath. A woman covered her mouth. A TSA agent muttered, "Oh God, oh God," because the reality slammed into everyone. Emily thought she was protecting Candy. She was protecting a weapon, a sophisticated system meant to blind the Southwest airspace. And she carried it like kids carry birthday goodie bags. Marcus felt something twist in his chest. Sharp, sickening. "Sweetheart," he said softly, "where's your mom? Did she see this woman?" Emily shook her head quickly. Too quickly. "No. Mommy went to the bathroom on the plane. The lady sat next to me. She said she liked my shoes." Marcus's jaw locked, a muscle ticking like a detonator. A stranger isolated a child. A stranger used kindness to weaponize a 7-year-old. And then, you heard it. A sound that didn't make sense at first. A sound sharp, raw, cracked straight down the middle. "Emily!" Heads whipped around. A woman sprinted down the terminal so fast she nearly tripped. Scrubs still on, badge swinging, hair in a messy bun that screamed 48 hours without sleep. Her face, God. Her face looked carved out of fear, eyes swollen, breath shaking. "Emily! Baby!" Emily's head jerked up, and then she screamed, not in fear, in relief. "Mommy!" Sarah Ward hit the ground beside her daughter so hard her knees skidded on tile. Didn't care. Didn't feel it. She grabbed Emily like the universe might snatch her away again. "Oh God. Oh God. Oh sweet girl. My baby. My baby." Her voice broke, stumbling into sobs that were half pain, half prayer. Emily melted into her mother's chest, fingers scrunching Sarah's scrubs like she'd vanish if she let go. "I was scared," Emily sobbed. "She said it was a game, Mommy. She said it was a secret." Sarah froze, like her heart just stopped. She cupped Emily's cheeks. "What game? What lady? Emily, what lady?" Emily stumbled over her words. "The lady with shiny hair. She put the candy in my bag. She said I had to hide it." Sarah's face shifted. Heartbreak melting into something sharper, harder, hotter. A fury that comes from love so deep it turns dangerous. Sarah looked at Marcus, eyes burning. "Who did this to my daughter?" Marcus didn't sugarcoat, didn't soften. He pointed at the gutted backpack. To put those in her bag, someone had to sit right next to her. Sarah stared at the backpack. 1 second. 2. 3. Then she looked at Clara Wynne. Not with confusion, not with fear, with recognition. Her voice dropped to a whisper, so soft only Ranger reacted, ears flicking. "It was her," Sarah said. "I saw her at the gate before the flight. She kept staring at Emily." The crowd shifted. Clara's perfect smile finally cracked. Just a hairline fracture, but enough. Ranger growled, low and deep, like thunder rolling across an empty desert. Because this wasn't a misunderstanding. It wasn't confusion. It wasn't a mistake. It was personal, targeted, deliberate. And Sarah Ward, this exhausted mother in wrinkled scrubs, looked like she was one breath away from tearing someone apart. If everything up to now felt like the world was tilting, then what happened next was the moment the ground actually disappeared. Because right after Sarah recognized Clara, right after Ranger nearly ripped through Marcus's grip, the dog did something none of us were ready for. He yanked, hard. Not the "hey, I smell something interesting" kind of tug. No. This was the kind of pull that makes a full-grown officer stumble like he forgot how legs worked. "Whoa! Ranger! Easy!" Marcus barely got the words out before Ranger lunged again, dragging him toward the far end of Terminal 4. And here's the thing. Ranger wasn't running away from danger anymore. He was running into it. Like something clicked inside him. Like that backpack wasn't the end of the nightmare. Just the beginning. Marcus didn't even have time to warn anyone. Ranger tore across the polished floor like a furry missile, dodging people, weaving around abandoned suitcases, ignoring shouts and panic, and everything that wasn't the scent he was locked onto. The dog blasted past gate D1, then D3, straight toward the frosted double doors marked "Authorized Personnel Only, Baggage Operations." A TSA agent threw out an arm. "Sir, you can't." But Ranger barreled straight through the security flap, nearly ripping the door off its hinges. Marcus, swearing under his breath, had no choice but to follow. And suddenly, we weren't in Phoenix Sky Harbor anymore. We were inside the machine beneath it, the baggage maze. If you've never been under an airport, it's not what you think. Not quiet tunnels, not simple conveyor belts. It's a roaring, rattling metal beast of belts running in every direction. Robotic arms swinging, suitcases thundering by like they've got somewhere important to be. Heat, noise, dust, the smell of rubber and oil. The whole place feels alive. Ranger didn't hesitate. He leapt onto the first conveyor belt like it was solid ground, claws skidding, body low. "Ranger! Get off the... damn it! Move!" Marcus sprinted beside him, dodging a metal support pole, nearly face-planting over a rolling crate. Baggage handlers shouted, "Hey, dog! Who let a K9 in here? Turn the belt off! We can't! We'll ground 6 flights!" Ranger didn't care, didn't blink, didn't look back. He followed a trail only he could sense, nose down, tail straight, muscles wired like steel. He sniffed a forest green duffel. Nothing. A striped suitcase, no reaction. A black hard-shell roller. Paused, then moved on, then bark. One sharp, chest-deep bark. Marcus skidded to a stop. "That's it," he breathed. "That's a signal." Handlers leapt onto the belt, grabbing the Navy suitcase Ranger's nose was jammed against. "We got it!" But Ranger didn't stop. Oh no, he bolted again, leaping across 2 belts, moving in opposite directions. His paws hit rubber, then metal, then rubber again. "Ranger, slow down! You're gonna break your..." too late. The dog dove into another lane of luggage, scattering bags like bowling pins. Then, bark, bark. 2 alerts. Bag number 2. Jesus, there's more, a handler shouted. Ranger sprinted deeper into the maze, tail slicing the air like an arrow toward hell. Marcus realized the truth. Whatever was in that backpack, there were more. Ranger ducked under a robotic sorting arm that swung down inches over his head. Marcus barely rolled under it, landing hard on his shoulder. Ranger, slow, down, damn it! But Ranger ignored him. He pressed his nose to a battered maroon suitcase. Bark! 3 signals. Bag number 3. A handler swore loud enough to echo over the machinery. This is a coordinated drop. Somebody tagged multiple flights. How many? Marcus shouted. We don't know. You're the one with the dog. And Ranger, he was already gone. He flew down the lowest belt, the one feeding bags to outbound flights, moving faster than any animal should on slippery rubber. Kill that belt, someone screamed. We can't. 3 planes are in final boarding. Redirect it. We can't do that either. Ranger didn't care about logistics. He cared about what was inside those bags. He pushed through a stack of suitcases, nosing, sniffing, searching. Then he froze, absolutely still, tail rigid, neck straight, eyes locked. He pressed his snout against a bright red suitcase with a peeling Grand Canyon sticker, and he growled. Not a warning growl, not fear, a confirmation. Marcus sprinted to him, dropping to his knees. Tell me that's it, he whispered. Please, Ranger, tell me that's the last one. Ranger didn't bark. He just rested his head against Marcus's arm, like an exhausted soldier signaling the sudden end of battle. The handlers grabbed the red suitcase. Alarms blared. Radios erupted. Someone shouted, 4 devices confirmed. 4 flights compromised. Lock the tarmac. And for one breathless moment, a moment that stretched across Arizona, everyone in that baggage maze realized, if Ranger hadn't found those bags, 4 planes, 400 lives, one sky, gone blind. Marcus wrapped both arms around Ranger's neck, forehead pressed to his fur. You saved them, he whispered. You saved all of them. Ranger exhaled a long, shaking breath, like the weight of an entire state had been sitting on his shoulders. Because that's exactly what he'd done. He pulled Arizona back from the edge of disaster, one suitcase at a time. If the baggage maze felt like the moment everything almost collapsed, then what happened right after? Yeah. That was the moment Phoenix Sky Harbor realized the nightmare wasn't ending. Not even close. Because the second the 4th suitcase was pulled off the belt, alarms wailing, Marcus catching his breath, one of the TSA techs in the control room shouted, Hey, Officer Hale, you need to see this, now. Marcus wiped the sweat from his forehead. Man, give me a sec. Ranger nearly dislocated my... No, the tech said, voice cracking. I'm serious. You're gonna want to look. Ranger lifted his head, ears forward, body stiff, almost like he already knew. Marcus stepped into the monitoring room. A dim space packed with security screens, static buzzing in the air, fear hanging like dust. On the biggest screen, paused mid-frame, was a woman. Not Clara Wynne. Not the lady from the plane. Not anyone they'd seen yet. This woman was different. TSA zoomed in. Blonde brown hair in a loose knot. Reflective vest, like any airport worker. Clipboard under her arm. Fake ID badge clipped to her hip. And that expression, calm, focused, confident. The kind of confidence people have when they know where the cracks in the system are, because they put them there. Marcus squinted. Who the hell is that? The tech swallowed hard. Her alias is the Marigold. Marcus blinked twice. The what now? Ranger's growl erupted, deep, violent, rattling the metal desk. Not a bark, not a warning. A soul-deep fury, like he wanted to jump through the screen and tear her out of the pixels. The tech clicked the next camera, angle, hands shaking. And there she was again, walking down Gate C-19 service corridor like she belonged there, not rushing, not panicking, not even glancing around, just strolling. Marcus, the tech whispered. She's the one they warned us about last year. Marcus frowned. What warning? The one from Homeland, the tech said. The cyber-sabotage ghost. The woman who slips into airports without ever hitting a metal detector. Linked to 3 radar failures in 18 months. He swallowed. She's called the Marigold because she leaves no trace, like a flower people see, but can't catch. Marcus stared at the screen. Her vest, her ID, her calm, her precision. This is the woman who put the hardware in Emily's bag, he said quietly. Not Clara? The tech asked. Marcus shook his head. Clara's involved, sure, but she's middle tier, sloppy, emotional, a disposable pawn. He pointed at the screen. But this woman, she's the one at the center. She's the brain. Ranger growled again, ears pinned, body trembling, and then the tech said the sentence that made every stomach drop. She's still inside the airport. Silence fell, heavy, suffocating, like gravity doubled. What do you mean? Still? Marcus asked. The tech rewound the footage, slowed it down. The Marigold walked past Gate C-19 at 10:17 a.m. The clock now read 10:23. 6 minutes. She wasn't gone. She wasn't escaping. She was here, somewhere in the terminal, blending in, watching the chaos she caused. Probably smiling to herself about how close she came to dismantling an entire region of airspace with 4 suitcases and 1 child. The room felt colder, quieter, wrong. One TSA agent whispered, "This nightmare, God, it's not over, is it?" Marcus inhaled slowly, chest tight. "No," he said, "it's not over, not until we find her." Ranger suddenly lunged at the monitor, so violently Marcus grabbed the harness with both hands. "Ranger, hey, hey!" But Ranger wasn't losing control. He was tracking, his eyes locked on the Marigold's face. Not her vest, not her badge. Her presence. Marcus crouched. "You know her, don't you? You smelled her on the bags, on the backpack, on the kid." Ranger barked once, sharp, brutal, and Marcus's skin prickled. Because that bark meant one thing. The threat isn't gone. The threat is near. The tech zoomed in one more time. And this time, something made every hair on Marcus's arms rise. Because the Marigold wasn't looking at the camera by accident. Her head was tilted, slightly, eyes angled upward, like she knew she was being watched, like she wanted someone to see her. Marcus whispered, "She's taunting us." Ranger snarled. The tech stammered, "Officer, what do we do?" Marcus tightened his grip on Ranger's harness. His voice dropped. Low, steady, certain. "We hunt." The room held its breath, because everyone knew this wasn't over. It wasn't even close. The little girl was safe. The suitcases were secured. But the Marigold, she was still out there, somewhere among the crowds, the gates, the noise, and she wasn't done. Not even close. Before we move on, I'm curious, honestly curious, if you were in that room watching the Marigold stroll like that, what would hit you first? Fear. "Oh hell, she's still here." Anger. "She used a child. She's done." Determination. "Ranger's gonna find her." Or something else entirely. If seeing the Marigold on the security feed was the moment everyone felt their stomach drop, then what happened next? Yeah, that was the part where the floor gave out completely. Because the second Marcus said, "We hunt," the alarms hadn't even finished echoing when the control room door slammed open. A breathless TSA officer pointed down the corridor. "She's here! She's here! Gate C-19, she just ditched her vest!" Ranger didn't wait for permission. Didn't wait for Marcus. Didn't wait for anything. He tore out of that room like he'd been fired from a cannon. "Ranger, hey, damn it, wait!" Marcus shoved past the officer and sprinted after him. They burst back into the main terminal, and there she was. The Marigold stood in the middle of the walkway, peeling off her reflective vest like it was an old jacket. Calm, smooth, almost bored. Then she looked directly at Marcus. Not scared, not caught. Smirking. And with one flick of her wrist, ping! The fake ID badge hit the tile. The sound was too soft to be threatening, but somehow it sent every nerve in Marcus's body into full alert. "Stop!" Marcus shouted, hand reaching for his cuffs. Too late. The Marigold tossed something small and black to the floor. A cylinder, metal, thumb-sized. Marcus's heart lurched up his throat. "Smoke!" he yelled. Boomf! The hallway exploded into a white cloud, thick, choking, swallowing the world in one bite. Ranger didn't hesitate. He vaulted straight into it. "Ranger, no, the belts, Ranger!" Marcus coughed, stumbling blindly after him. The smoke wasn't drifting. It was rolling, alive, crawling through the air like fog pumped by a demon engine. Passengers screamed. Someone fell. Someone shouted for security. None of it mattered. Marcus pushed forward, arms out, boots scraping tile. He heard footsteps, light, fast, purposeful, slicing through the haze. Then, clang, a metal door. A blast of cold, industrial air. The maintenance wing. He slammed through the steel door, and the world changed again. Oil, hot wires, dust, coolant, conveyor belts roaring, compressors screaming, ventilation pipes rattling like steel snakes. Clang, 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 fast footsteps on metal grating. The marigold. Ranger shot onto a raised walkway. Marcus sprinted behind him, gripping the railing, swinging around the corner. He caught a glimpse of her, darting across the catwalk, ponytail bouncing, boots sparking against the metal. "Stop running!" he yelled. She didn't. She vaulted a toolbox, ducked under a pipe, then slid down a ladder so fast Marcus swore his hands hurt just watching. Ranger didn't use the ladder. He jumped. "Ranger! Jesus!" The dog landed on the lower platform and sprinted full speed across it. The marigold shoved through a plastic curtain into the conveyor chamber. Marcus followed, almost slipping as the noise slammed into him like a wave. Belts flying at insane speeds, suitcases thundered by, steel plates shifting overhead, a metal jungle. Ranger darted ahead, weaving between belts, crossing platforms not meant for paws or boots. A massive hydraulic arm swung down, right toward him. "Ranger, move!" The dog leapt sideways, and a 300-pound steel plate smashed into the belt where he'd been half a second earlier. Ranger didn't slow. He shot under the arm, across a narrow beam, then leapt onto the largest conveyor belt, a roaring monster hauling luggage into a long-haul loading tunnel. And there, 20 feet ahead, Marcus saw her. She sprinted between belts like she'd memorized every inch, ducking, dodging, moving with impossible precision. But Ranger closed the distance. 10 feet. 6. 4. She looked back. Mistake. Ranger launched. It was like watching a rocket lift off. He hit her square in the shoulders, sending both of them skidding across the concrete. She rolled, fought, kicked, reached for something in her boot. But Ranger slammed a paw on her wrist so hard, the tool skittered away. Marcus reached them, chest burning, adrenaline drowning thought. "Don't move." She didn't. Not because she obeyed, but because Ranger pressed harder, a growl rumbling so deep it vibrated the floor. Marcus grabbed her arm, wrenched it back, cuffs snapping into place. Click, click. The marigold lay pinned on the vibrating concrete, hair mussed, breathing sharp, and above her, Ranger stood tall, shoulders square, chest heaving, eyes blazing like a soldier who refused to fall. Maintenance workers froze. Someone whispered, "Holy hell." Another murmured, "That dog isn't just trained. He's built for war. Marcus rested a shaking hand on Ranger's back. You got her, buddy, he breathed. You actually got her. Ranger didn't bark, didn't growl. He just held his stance. Victorious, powerful, unmovable, like every battle he'd ever fought had led to this moment. A warrior carved out of instinct and loyalty. If watching Ranger take the marigold to the ground felt like the moment the airport could finally breathe again, then what happened next? Yeah, that was the moment every single breath turned to ice. Because as soon as Marcus locked the cuffs, as soon as 2 TSA officers came running in with their radios going crazy, the marigold did something absolutely insane for someone pinned under a 90-pound K9. She laughed. Not scared. Not broken. Not defeated. A soft, lazy, almost bored laugh. Like she was watching a mildly amusing TV show. Marcus froze mid-breath. Ranger's growl deepened, vibrating through the floor. One of the agents whispered, "Is she, okay? Did she hit her head?" But no, this wasn't head trauma. This was a woman who knew something nobody else did. Marcus leaned closer, jaw tight. What the hell is so funny? The marigold turned her head on the concrete, smirk curling like smoke. You really think you stopped me? Her voice was calm, smooth, confident. Far too confident for someone just tackled by a dog and arrested under a conveyor system. Marcus felt every muscle coil. Lady, I'm not in the mood for games. We shut down 4 bags. We got the tech. We got you. It's over. She chuckled again. Low, mocking. Oh, sweetheart. That was only phase 1. The words dropped like a stone. Except instead of ripples, the temperature plummeted 10 degrees. The maintenance crew went silent. Someone whispered, "Phase what?" Another backed up, eyes wide. Even Ranger, usually all instinct, paused, ears twitching like he wanted to understand the tone. Marcus's throat went dry. Not fear, not panic. A cold, sinking realization. Explain. She tilted her head, eyes empty, flat, staring through him. You think 4 devices were meant to blind the Southwest radar system? Marcus stared. That's what you built them for. No, she whispered. That's what you were supposed to think. A shiver crawled up Marcus's spine. Ranger pressed harder onto her shoulder. She winced, then grinned. Oh, big boy, she cooed to the dog. You're smarter than your handler, aren't you? Ranger snapped a snarl so sharp, Marcus had to tighten the harness. Hey, Marcus snapped. Eyes on me, not the dog. She rolled her eyes. Fine. You want the truth? You're not going to like it. She inhaled, slow, savoring, before saying, the real payload isn't here. Marcus's chest tightened. You're lying. I don't have to lie, she said. You're already behind. Marcus grabbed her arm. Behind what? Her smile widened. Ugly, sharp. You stopped 4 planes. Congratulations. But the data was already extracted the moment the first suitcase hit the belt. Marcus's blood ran cold. No, the system was isolated. She tilted her head. Are you sure? The silence after that wasn't silence. It was fear so thick you could almost hear it breathe. Marcus fought for air, one knee on concrete, one hand gripping a woman who wasn't supposed to be calm. You're bluffing. She laughed again. Quiet, poisonous. Oh, honey, I don't bluff. You ever wonder why I walked right in front of the cameras? Why I let your dog see my face? Why I let you track me? Marcus blinked. What are you talking about? She leaned in, voice dropping into a soft, eerie whisper. Because I needed you busy. Marcus recoiled. What? She lifted her cuffed wrists. Ranger slammed them down instantly. You weren't the target, Officer Hale. Neither was the airport. Ranger growled. Low, vibrating, dangerous. Her smile stretched, razor thin. While you were playing fetch with your furry hero, the real operation walked right out the front door. TSA agents stiffened. One stammered, Sir, tell me she's lying. Please tell me she's lying. The Marigold laughed. Go ahead, she said. Check the departure logs. Check the passenger lists. Check the maintenance crews. Her voice dipped into a hiss. You'll never find them. Marcus stood up, slow, legs shaking. You're done talking. She shrugged. I was done before you even showed up. Marcus motioned to the officers. Get her out of here, now. They hauled her up. She didn't resist, didn't struggle, didn't look scared. She just walked out like she was late for lunch. Ranger watched her go, every muscle tight, every nerve burning. Marcus whispered, voice shaking. Phase 1. What the hell is Phase 2? No answer. Just the echo of the Marigold's soft, haunting laugh drifting down the hallway long after she was cuffed and gone. And for the first time that day, Marcus wasn't afraid of what he knew. He was afraid of what he didn't. If the Marigold's Phase 1 confession froze everyone in that maintenance tunnel, then what came next? Yeah. Felt like the whole state of Arizona tried to thaw itself on the same day. 48 hours later, Marcus stood outside the Maricopa County Courthouse, staring up at the sandstone steps like they were the gates of something mythical. He rubbed his thumb across Ranger's vest and whispered, All right, buddy. You ready for this? Ranger looked up with that calm, steady stare, the kind that said, Yeah, but are you? Inside. Absolute madness. The courtroom was packed like it was the Super Bowl. Reporters, officers, TSA staff, airport maintenance workers, random citizens who'd seen the footage on the news. It felt like half of Phoenix showed up. People squeezed shoulder to shoulder on wooden benches. Some even stood in the aisles. Someone whispered loudly, I've never seen a courtroom this full, ever. Another replied, Dude, they're here for the dog. And they were. Every eye turned when Ranger walked in with Marcus. Not in a aw, cute dog way. More like, that's him. The one who saved us. The dog who held the sky together. Ranger didn't puff his chest or wag his tail. He just walked with that quiet, soldier-like focus, like he was reporting for duty again. Marcus felt his throat tighten. Judge Elena Brooks entered. Silver hair, sharp eyes, posture like steel. But even she paused when she spotted Ranger. Not in shock, not in confusion, in respect. She took her seat. This court calls Case 31F to order. State of Arizona versus Marigold, Easton. A rustle moved across the room. Ranger sat, calm, steady, tail curled at his side. Today's hearing wasn't about sentencing. That would take months, maybe years. Today was about something no one expected. A formal recognition for a K-9 who prevented a multi-aircraft catastrophe. Judge Brooks lifted a thick binder. "We are here," she said, voice echoing against every wooden panel, "to acknowledge actions beyond anything this state has ever witnessed." The room fell silent. You could hear someone's bracelet clink 3 rows back. On December 27th, she continued, a coordinated technological attack targeted the FAA's Southwest radar corridor. If successful, it would have disabled navigation for multiple flights simultaneously. Uneasy shifting filled the room. K-9 Ranger, she said, detected these devices before any system alarm triggered. Marcus felt heat rise in his chest. Ranger tilted his head just slightly, listening. He identified secondary devices in the baggage system, prevented 4 aircraft from launching with destabilizing hardware, and pursued and apprehended the primary suspect. Silence again. Deeper this time. Then Judge Brooks delivered the line that would loop through the news for weeks. K-9 Ranger prevented a multi-aircraft catastrophe over the Southwest corridor. A pause. Then, the entire courtroom stood. Benches scraped. Air shifted. And then, applause. Not polite clapping. A thunder. People shouting, "Good boy," through actual tears. Marcus blinked hard. Ranger. He didn't flinch. Didn't show off, just sat. Steady, calm, soldier strong. Judge Brooks smiled gently. "I suppose," she said, "that's the most deserved standing ovation this room has ever given." Marcus knelt beside Ranger, whispered, "You did good, buddy." And then, through the crowd, Sarah stepped forward, carrying Emily. Emily wriggled down the moment she saw Ranger, sneakers tapping the polished floor as she ran. No fear, no trembling, no backpack clutched like a lifeline. She threw her arms around Ranger's neck, burying her face in his fur. Marcus's breath caught hard. Sarah dropped to her knees, exhausted, red-eyed, unbreakable. She wrapped her arms around her daughter and Ranger. Her voice cracked. "Thank you. Thank you for giving me my little girl back. I don't even have words." Ranger leaned into her. Warm, solid, grounding. His tail swept softly across the floor. Emily whispered, "I wasn't scared this time, because you were there." Marcus closed his eyes, that sentence burning straight through his chest. Sarah placed a trembling hand on Marcus's arm. "You trusted him," she said. "And because of that, my daughter is alive." Judge Brooks stood again. "This court recognizes K-9 Ranger for extraordinary bravery, exceptional service, and the preservation of countless lives." The room erupted. Applause, cheers, cameras flashing. And for the first time since this nightmare began, the fear, the chase, the smoke, Marcus felt something heavy finally loosen inside him. Ranger nudged his hand like he was saying, "See? Told you we'd get through." The thunderous applause that echoed through the courtroom felt like the entire state of Arizona was finally breathing a sigh of relief. But what happened next? Yeah. That was the moment everyone in the room forgot how to breathe. While the applause still crashed against the high ceilings, while reporters clutched microphones like spears and officers wiped tears without shame, Emily tugged on her mother's sleeve. Hard. "Mom," she whispered, I need to do something." Sarah blinked, still crying. "What is it, baby?" Emily didn't answer. Instead, she slipped her tiny hand into the side pocket of the shredded pink backpack. The backpack that carried a nightmare. The backpack that nearly turned a child into a weapon. The courtroom went quiet. You could hear wood creak beneath someone shifting. You could hear Ranger's slow breath. You could hear Sarah swallow. Emily pulled out a strip of faded pink fabric. Frayed, uneven, torn at the edges. A piece of the backpack's lining. She held it in both hands and stared at it for a long moment. Then she turned to Ranger. And the courtroom, the reporters, the clerk, Judge Brooks herself. Everyone went still. "Ranger," she whispered, voice shaking but stronger than before. Can I give you something?" Ranger lowered his head. Gently. Not on command, but out of instinct. A soft, quiet understanding. Emily stepped closer, tiny sneakers squeaking, and reached for his collar. The room gasped, not in fear, in reverence. Her hands shook, but she held the ribbon carefully. "This was my backpack," she said, "the one she used, the bad lady. But this part, this piece, it didn't touch anything scary. It's just mine." She looped the pink ribbon around Ranger's collar and tied it into a small, crooked knot. Not perfect, not symmetrical, but real. When she stepped back, Ranger didn't move. He stood still, head slightly bowed, like he understood he was being honored. And that broke the whole room. A woman in row 3 sobbed. A TSA tech wiped his eyes angrily. Even Judge Brooks fought the tremble in her chin. Emily whispered, "This is so you don't forget me." Ranger lifted his head, the ribbon fluttering, and gently pressed his forehead against Emily's. A sound passed through the courtroom. Not applause, not gasps. Something softer, a collective, "Oh God." Sarah covered her mouth. Marcus's vision blurred. Because this wasn't a dog receiving a ribbon. This was a child giving away the last piece of something stolen from her. Her safety, her innocence, her trust, and placing it around the neck of the one creature who protected it. Emily sniffed. "I wanted the good part to be yours," she whispered. "Not the scary part." Ranger nudged her hand. More tears. More heartache, more healing. Sarah knelt beside her daughter, wrapping an arm around her. She looked at Marcus, not as an officer, but as the man who followed his dog through hell. Can we thank him?" she asked softly. Marcus nodded. "You already did." Emily hugged Ranger again, this time without fear, without trembling, without shadows behind her eyes. Just a hug. Pure, grateful, real. Time 1.5s. Judge Brooks cleared her throat. "For the record," she said, "this court acknowledges the significance of this moment." Marcus placed a hand on Ranger's back. "You earned that ribbon, buddy," he whispered. "You earned all of this." Cameras clicked softly, not to exploit the moment, but to preserve it. The pink ribbon fluttered against Ranger's badge, a child's forgiveness beside a warrior's honor. And in that courtroom, with sunlight drifting through tall windows, for a brief, fragile moment, the chaos, the fear, the nightmares, the warnings of Phase 1, all of it felt far away. Because right there, in the heart of Phoenix, one dog and one little girl wrote what courage truly looks like. You'd think the courtroom moment with the pink ribbon would be the emotional peak, right? Yeah. No. Because what happened the next morning hit even harder, in that quiet, unexpected way that sneaks right under your ribs. It was 6:12 a.m., Phoenix still half asleep, the air crisp. The kind of cool desert morning that only lasts about 12 minutes before the sun starts roasting everything alive. The sky glowed with a soft lavender haze, and the first line of gold edged over the Superstition Mountains. Marcus stood on the East Service runway, walking beside Ranger like two guys who survived a war nobody else even knew happened. "Come on, buddy," he murmured. "Let's go catch the sunrise." Ranger didn't bark. He flicked an ear, leaned into Marcus's leg for a heartbeat. A quiet, steady, "Yeah, man." "Lead the way." They stepped past the fence line, boots crunching gravel, Ranger's paws padding softly in the dirt. The desert air felt different, cleaner, new, like something heavy had finally been scrubbed from the world. For the first time in days, Ranger wasn't tense. No hackles raised, no muscles wired tight, no threat on the wind. Just a dog and his partner. And maybe that's why Marcus didn't hear the footsteps at first. the little ones. Ranger did. His head snapped up, tail lifted, ears perked. Then he bolted forward with a soft, excited hop he hadn't done since he was a pup. "Ranger! Hey, where are you?" Then Marcus saw her. Emily. Running across the gravel, arms pumping, hair glowing like copper fire in the sunrise. Sarah followed behind, tired but smiling. That small, aching smile worn by mothers who barely slept, but wouldn't trade the exhaustion for anything. Time wimps. Emily didn't slow down. She sprinted straight at Ranger like he was the only safe thing left in the universe. Ranger met her halfway, stopping just long enough for her to throw tiny arms around his neck and bury her face in his fur. "Hi, Ranger," she whispered, her voice thin but steady, the kind of steady you only earn after surviving something you never should have had to. Ranger stood still, then gave a tiny, soft woof. Not loud enough to echo, just enough to answer her. Marcus exhaled, relief and something heavier, something like gratitude he didn't know how to speak. Sarah caught up, breathing hard. "She insisted," she said, laughing through exhaustion. She couldn't leave Phoenix without saying goodbye. Marcus smiled. I don't think he'd let her leave without it. Emily held Ranger's cheeks like he might vanish if she let go. "Don't forget me, okay? Please don't forget me." Ranger lowered his head and pressed his nose gently to her forehead. One small bark. Soft. Warm. A promise. Emily smiled through fresh tears. "I knew you'd say that." The sun finally crested the mountains, spilling gold across the runway. It hit Ranger first, washing his fur in warm light. Then it caught the ribbon. That faded pink strip tied to his collar. The crooked knot, the frayed edges, the piece of a nightmare Emily had turned into something beautiful. The ribbon shimmered in the morning breeze, a symbol of fear finally set free. A reminder she survived. A reminder he saved her. Emily touched it gently. "That's my favorite color," she whispered. "So, you'll remember me when you see it." Ranger leaned his whole weight into her side. Gentle, protective. He didn't understand cyber weapons or espionage or Phase 1, but he understood her. Sarah knelt, hugging both of them, arms trembling around dog and child. "Thank you," she whispered to Ranger. I don't have any other words." Marcus looked away, dust in his eye. Probably. The sun climbed higher, painting the runway gold, like the world itself saying, "It's over now. You can breathe again." Emily stepped back reluctantly. "I have to go now, but I'll visit, if that's okay." Marcus chuckled. "I think he'd like that." Ranger barked once, sharp, proud, certain. Emily giggled, a real giggle. The first that didn't sound scared. Sarah took her hand and walked toward the terminal. Emily turned back one last time. "Bye, Ranger." Ranger stood tall, chest out, the pink ribbon glowing like a sunrise of its own. Marcus rested a hand on his back. "You did good, pal," he murmured. "You got her through the dark. And, hell, you got the rest of us through it too." Man and dog watched mother and daughter disappear into the bright morning light. And for a moment, Phoenix felt quiet. Really quiet. The kind that only comes after you've stared down the end of the world and walked away.